Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, July 7th, 2021 at 3 p.m., which means it's time for Women in Business. And I'm really excited that you're all here. Please excuse the purple headphones. My wireless ones don't want to work for some reason, so I had to go old school today. I understand that it kind of messes with my monochromatic wardrobe that I was wearing, but you got to do what you got to do. So I'm really excited to have with me today Wendy Skaggs of Sweet N Sassy Designs and Sweet N Sassy Blanks. We're going to have a great conversation, and I just want to tell you a little bit about her first. She and her mother started selling at craft shows when she was very young. She started her first embroidery business in Alaska in 2009. For years, she tinkered with digitizing, 8 years actually, before she started selling designs. And at that time, she also was selling embroidery, vinyl, and blanks. So pretty much everything we all love. How exciting is that? When she purchased French frills in 2018, her mom took over the blanks so she could focus on digitizing. She specializes in piquer designs. I'm going to have to ask her what that is, but also sells other designs as well. Along with being a digitizer, Wendy is also a full-time high school teacher and has a husband and 2 kids. So she's got a full-time life there, and I'm going to pop her in here. Hi, Wendy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so right out of the box, piquer designs. Please
Yeah.
define.
So, well, just like it says, a piquer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the embroidery designs that we specialize in are those applique designs that kind of stop right about here.
Okay.
And so, they really started on hooded towels. And so
Okay.
you would stitch them on the hood, and it looked like they were kind of peeking over.
Okay.
And then they've since gone, people put them on bags, they put them on aprons, reading pillows, they just kind of have grown from there. But yeah, that's just kind of the gist of what a peaker design is.
Well, apparently I'm a dork because I'm getting comments like Cindy Long says, Peeker towels, I love them and they sell great. So apparently I'm the only one who
don't you know?
I'm the only one who doesn't know.
Yeah.
So crazy, I know. But there's so many things I want to talk to you about. But the first one I want to talk to you about, just because you told me a little bit of this story while we were chatting before the show went live. You had an embroidery business in Alaska.
I did.
And for those people who are watching, would you tell them how you got to Alaska, please?
Absolutely. So, for those of you who don't know me, my husband is with the Forest Service, the U.S. Forest Service, and he is in law enforcement. So basically, like a federal game warden. And one of his duty locations was there. It's actually his first duty location. So he started there and kind of moved up the ranks and supervised the Tongass National Forest right there in Ketchikan. We lived on the island. And so I moved there with him, of course. We have 2 kids. I taught there, and I've always been mesmerized. I used to always be mesmerized when I went to craft shows with embroidery machines.
Mm-hmm.
I used to always watch and go by and watch them personalizing things and this and that. It was like, wow, that would be so cool. And so we actually purchased our first embroidery machine, a 6 needle, out of Utah. Had it barged up on the barge.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. Had it barged up, picked it up off the barge, and brought it home. And I was like, now what? What do I do? And this was, YouTube really wasn't getting started.
Well, yeah, you said
the hype that it does now.
Yeah.
And so it was just, I was tinkering and I was going back and forth. And before you know it, we lived on an island. So I had small jobs. Mm-hmm. That's when I found French frills, which actually I bought out. And my business started with hooded towels on the island. And so, of course, I didn't have any competition because I was right. And so we started there. And then my business grew because I had commercial fishermen and commercial businesses wanting things that my little 6 needle couldn't do. And so I needed larger sewing size, the space. So we purchased a 15 needle, had it barged up, and I actually flew a service rep from Toshima up to
Oh my
train me for a
goodness.
day. Yeah. And he was like, wow, where are you sending me? And so I had him up there for a whole day, and it's just kind of grown from there. And when we moved here, I sold that. I still have my 6 needle. I have my very first 6 needle machine. It has moved about 4 times with me. And it doesn't go on a moving truck. It actually goes in my personal vehicle with me every time.
Oh, I would do that too.
Yeah, yeah. And it's my tried and true. I actually have it at school right now. I taught my students how to embroider with it. So
oh, I love that.
That's
great.
Kind of gone from there. The rest is history, I guess, is what they say.
The other Alaska question I have, just because I'm seriously curious about this, how the heck did you get supplies?
Patience. Because, priority mail at that time, was better than it is now. But,
right.
Priority mail down here is 2-3 days,
mm-hmm.
give or take. Priority mail up there is 7 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Now larger orders, when I was in the business, larger orders I would get shipped up. In Alaska, it's really easy for us to ship things to AML, which is Alaska Marine Lines in Seattle. And it's cheaper. You can get free shipping to Seattle.
Oh.
And so then if you're willing to wait an extra 4 days, get it shipped to there, and then it comes up on the barge, and then I pick it up on Tuesday. And it's cheaper. Because a lot of people down here really think Alaska's international shipping.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not international. But the shipping is very, very expensive up there.
Yeah. Well, I know the reason I asked is because I used to work for a supplier, and we had a few customers from Alaska, and they were always going, please figure out the cheapest way you can send it to me, because it's
ship it to AML and barge it up.
Who knew? And I like Lisa's comment here. She says, what a great story on getting started. So excited to get to know you. I love hearing people's origin stories too. And you have a really good one, because you're like, I was on an island in a rainforest in Alaska.
That's where we started.
Go.
I started in my basement. That's where we started. And, and it's just kind of grown from there. I don't do as much. I don't sell retail anymore as far as doing shows. I have fun now going to shows and seeing my designs there. That's the neatest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Around here, I have customers that I didn't even know I had until I moved here. And I went to a craft show in particular and was like, whoa, those are my designs. And I walked up and she was like, oh my gosh. And my husband was like, you're like famous for 15 seconds. You're like, I was like, I know I'm a celebrity, And so that's the cool thing now. I like going and just seeing what people do with them. That's the art of it, because sometimes what I envision isn't what they envision, and their vision is just as cool, if not cooler than mine. So I don't make designs, but I can identify definitely with the whole somebody recognizes you and knows who you, and it's like, that's such a fun feeling. It's like, so fun. Hey, I made an impact. They got it. But I want to back up for just a second, because I started with Alaska just because Alaska fascinates me. But you said that you started originally when you were young with your mom at craft shows. Did she have an embroidery machine? No,
did she make stuff?
We did. I actually started at about the age of 6.
Oh my goodness.
6 or 7. I guess, you would call it almost like the beginning of embroidery, because I cross-stitched,
Oh, wow.
And that's what I did. And, we did a lot of, being so young, everybody's like, oh, she's so cute, I'll buy from her. And so, so I would do like the little jar lids, and I would fill them with stuff, and that was my craft. And my mom did other crafts. My mom sews. So my mom did other crafts, and we just kind of would hit the little markets, and then my, it just kind of grew from there. And then when I was in high school and college, of course, got out of that a little bit because I wasn't in college.
Right.
And, but always, if mom had a big show or whatever, I always went with her. And actually, craft shows put me through college. It paid for my entire wedding.
Well, there you go.
Can do it. Craft shows can make a living.
That's amazing, actually. Yeah. So your mom must have been like whole hog into this then.
My mom, yeah, she was. She was a military wife. My dad was in the Navy, and so we were fortunate to travel, and so yeah, if she found a market or a craft show somewhere, we were there, and it was just fun. It was something different,
So do
so
you think that's part of what led you to embroidery later
I
when
think so.
you
I think so because those are the shows that I would see embroidery.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have seen it any other place. And so I would go by, on my breaks that my mom would give me.
Mhm.
She was such a slave driver. But those breaks I would walk through and I was like, wow, that is so cool. And so and then of course when you get one, you're like, well, I just don't want to do names. That's just boring.
Yeah.
What I used to think was so cool. I'm like, that's just boring. And you know and so then it just kind of went from there, which I did. I mean, I embroidered for years, not even thinking about digitizing at all.
Mhm.
I just wanted to embroider because I had a full-time teaching job, so I was like, I don't have time for all this.
Right.
And then I was like, well, maybe I'll play around with it. And I had a little more time on my hands in Wisconsin when we moved from Alaska, and I kind of got my feet wet in it and started. And then of course, a few years ago when I bought out French frills, it was kind of all feet in. So
Yeah, then you had to. Well,
yeah,
I like this. Apparently people are enjoying the story because Coral says, love hearing Wendy's
yeah,
stories. So that's
yeah.
good.
Coral's one
But
of
I
my
want to
idols.
talk about, and I want to put up here, um, Sweet and Sassy
Okay.
Blanks.net
Yeah.
and Sweet and Sassy Designs.net.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you have two separate companies, one company
Yeah.
that's combined. How is this
Well,
working?
yeah. So, well, it originally started with blanks when I was in Alaska and I was selling retail.
Okay.
I was like, well, I kind of want to start selling some blanks.
Mhm.
And so selling it from Alaska was challenging
I'm
because of
sure.
shipping to customers.
Mhm.
I would ship everything flat rate priority because it was just cheaper. But,
Right.
and then shipping time and lag time, and, it was a challenge. But, it was about a year that I did that, and then we moved. So it was kind of perfect timing.
Mhm.
Then that summer that we moved was the summer that I actually got into embroidery vinyl. And so, kind of knowing that, we shipped the blanks down to my mother, who was in Arkansas as well. And
Mhm.
the vinyl I had shipped to her. And so we kind of hung out and did those kinds of things. When we got our final move to Wisconsin, we moved everything up to a huge warehouse there, and I did that full time for actually for half a year. I stopped teaching for about a
Mhm.
half a year, and then I missed it and I went back. So um, when I started digitizing, mom took all the blanks over. So we moved everything back to her warehouse, and she does everything on the blank side. I say everything. Mom does the manual stuff. And everybody who has been to a craft show who has met my mother knows my mother does not do technology. She does not do. She doesn't even like the register. Like, my mother does not like anything that she can't control 100%. And
Okay.
technology scares her. So, she knows how to go on the back side of the website and print her postage and do that. But after that, it's on me. So I still have my hand in it. I still order everything for her and all that stuff. But as far as shipping, as far as her cutting all the vinyl, because all of our vinyl is hand cut. So,
Oh, that's a
yeah,
job.
yeah, yeah. So she is a workhorse. She is a workhorse right now. My mom puts in about 14 hours a day there, and
Wow.
so yeah, she's a workhorse.
Well, it's interesting because I've talked to other people that work with family members, and it usually is a daughter and mother
Hmm.
almost all the time that
Yeah,
seem to, and it seems like you guys have a pretty good division of labor there.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, I think it's
well,
great. I think
you
it's
think it's
awesome.
terrific.
I think it's great because that was one of the things that I actually hated was cutting vinyl. I couldn't stand cutting vinyl because I was like, oh my gosh, I could be over here doing this or this and that. And mom loves that. So it was perfect when I was like, why don't you just take it over? And and
Carolyn's
so
making me laugh here, so I got to put this comment up. Hand cut. Yipes. Does she drink?
I know. I one time I was like, "Do you want me to get you those?" Because my mom actually. So my mom, to back up just a minute, my mom used to be she used to work in a factory in Virginia when she was younger, and
Mhm.
she would cut pieces. She was in a garment factory. And
Okay.
so, you know, piecework is my mom's thing. Like, my mom loves piecework. And so I was like, do you want me to get you one of those things that she used to have that would cut like layers and layers? She's like, no, I like my little. I'm like, okay. So she does. We get everything in bolts. And she cuts the strips and she hand cuts all the sheets. And yep.
Good. So we'll see her handiwork at Applique Getaway then, I'm assuming.
Yes, her and my dad will both be there. My dad's a joker. He's a hoot. He doesn't say much. Let's just put it that way. But you know,
Okay.
But yeah, no, they're both there. My daughter will also be there to help. And,
Fun.
so yeah, no, it's a family, definitely a family affair.
Okay, so the blank side sells vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do you guys sell?
Embroidery blanks. You know, things that for folks to embroider. You know, Santa sacks. We have. We're also a distributor for Glide Thread.
Okay.
And then we are one of the regional distributors for Cubbies. So we can actually be knowing that means that we can actually sell them blank.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's 7 of us in the United States that are regional distributors.
Mm-hmm.
The rest cannot sell them blank. They have to sell them as a retailer.
Right.
But yeah, so we're excited to be. It took us about 4 years in the making to become a distributor. So
yeah, I remember.
It's hard.
I used to work for Enmart, and Enmart's a distributor too. So I remember the process. But
yeah,
those cubbies are awfully cute, though.
They are. They're super cute. So
they're really cute. So, okay, so you've got the blank side, and then the digitizing side, you do the designs for the peaker towels and all, and other designs.
Yeah, we do some sketch designs, some field designs, some in the hoop designs. You know, subway designs for reading pillows.
Sure.
Those kinds of things. So yeah, you know, just so that not everybody likes applique. Some people just want to put it on the machine. They don't want anything extra to be added.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you kind of gotta go with the flow. But specializing, you know, we put out the most as far as peaker designs.
Oh, this is nice. Cindy says embroidery vinyl is so hard to find. So glad to know you guys carry it. So that's good.
Oh my gosh, yes. We have about over 150 different design of colors and styles.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot. Wow.
And my mom doesn't know it yet, and I know she won't know because she's not on here because my mother doesn't do technology. But she has about 12 new designs, about 12 new patterns coming in the mail tomorrow.
Oh boy.
Applique Getaway, and she doesn't know it yet. So
well, that'll be nice for her, I'm sure.
She'll be like, what is this?
She'll be like, ah!
Yeah. We always try to carry something new. We try to introduce something new at each show.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the new stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. Exclusive show designs are always huge. You get people to your booth that way.
Absolutely.
But what I want to ask you is, okay, so you're married, you have children.
Yes.
You have a full-time job already.
Yes.
And then you have 2, I can't even call them on the side businesses. I don't know what I call them. So how? I mean, is your mom your only employee? Or your only person that helps you? I mean,
you know, Dad helps Mom.
Okay.
And then I have an amazing husband. Like, Brian does 185% of stuff. You know, he really does. He can tell if I'm kind of in the zone. You know, he'll go do stuff. You know, he's really been there. And so, you know, it's that support system that you need. And sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's family. I'm fortunate that it's family for me. You know, Caitlin, you know, our daughter, she helps, you know, when Jonathan was at home, you know, he would help. He would do all my mail runs for me. So, you know, it's definitely a family affair. And, you know, of course, no one digitizes but me, you know, but they help out in every other way, you know, whether it be, you know, cooking supper, doing the laundry, cleaning the house, you know, those kinds of things, letting me sleep, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking, when do you do that?
Yeah, so I'm very much an early riser. I get up around 3:30 in the morning.
Oh my!
So, you know, but my house is quiet at that time. We have 5 dogs.
I get that.
And so my house is quiet. The dogs are sleeping. The kids are sleeping. The husband's sleeping. So I can get some work done. So.
Well, we have some more comments here, and I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up because the
Okay.
last one I think we'll need to answer. But
Okay.
let's see. Linda says her vinyl cuts like butter. Love it.
It does. And Linda's actually been with us from the beginning. So.
And Carlissa says, looking forward to all that vinyl and those cubbies. Terry says, I love her vinyl. It's amazing. And then I have a couple of questions that are maybe more. Okay. Cindy wants to know, do you have any suggestions for those of us who do craft shows, where to find them or the best ones?
So what I would start with is definitely, first of all, figure out how far you're able to travel.
Right.
You know, how far are you willing to go? And then look on the Chamber of Commerce's of those towns, because a lot of times they post events. I've actually done a Google search too of craft vendor fairs and then I type the state and they all pop up. There are some, you know, I guess craft fair businesses, I guess, you know, they kind of travel. But it really depends on where you're willing to go, you know?
Yeah.
And some people are willing to go far. Some people can. I don't even like to say the word willing. Some people are fortunate enough to be able to travel and some aren't. And that's okay, you know? But I think that's the first part, you know, kind of open a map, you know, get those old time maps out and go, okay, I can go here. And then look at the larger cities. Sometimes though, it's not the larger cities where you make your money. It's the smaller ones because no one wants to go there. And so, you know, look for those holiday shows, look for those spring shows, you know, and look for those little county fairs. Fairs are huge when it comes to crafts because that's the clientele that come. It used to be agriculture and crafts. That's what made county fairs the way they are. And so, you know, looking for all those kinds of things, but definitely start with where you're willing to go. And then go from there.
Well, Cindy says, considering I'm ready to do this full time, I would go anywhere. So there you go.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, she's more than willing to reach out to me. And I can kind of give her a couple pointers depending on where she's at. There's still a few craft shows that my mom even did when I was in high school and college that are still raring, that are still going. So
yeah, you can hit up the Sweet N Sassy Designs Facebook group and you can connect with Wendy there, or you can always get in touch with me and I can connect you with Wendy too.
Absolutely.
That'll work. So I need to go back to the comments because there was another question from another Cindy. Cindy King wants to know, what exactly do you do with embroidery vinyl?
Good question. So one of the major things to know is that embroidery vinyl is not heat transfer vinyl. Some people purchase it with that in mind, thinking that they can use a heat press. If you use a heat press on embroidery vinyl, you're going to melt it.
Which is not good.
You're not going to get the look that you wanted. Let's just put it that way. Embroidery vinyl, we actually started with marine vinyl. And it's, you know, what they put on boats. And
I was going to say, isn't that what goes on boats?
It is. And it's very durable. Because it goes on boats and in cars and those kinds of things, and it can be sewn, and it can hold its shape, and it's long lasting.
Right.
And so we started with that, and then we started getting into more specialized vinyl, and you know, and so we have the gamut now. And you cut it; it's like fabric. Basically, you use it like fabric. You know, you cut it after you put your tack down, stitch down. You trim it, and then you use your satin stitching or what have you, if you have a satin stitch to go over it. Embroidery vinyl can also be used to make totes and purses and those kinds of things. You know, we have customers who buy that that buy our vinyl to make, you know, zipper bags and totes and all kinds of stuff. And so it's just a heavy duty vinyl, but the main thing is it is not heat transfer vinyl. You don't use a press with this, and that's a big difference.
Well, honestly, I assumed that it was heat press vinyl, so I learned something today. But so it's basically vinyl you can sew. So you could use it for applique, or you could use it to make the body of something like tote bags and things. I never thought of that.
Yes. Yes.
That's really
and you can
amazing.
Wash it. And you can wash it.
And you can wash it. Okay.
So our vinyl has all been washed and dried tested. And so you can.
I'm learning new things today.
Yeah, there you
go. All right, y'all. If you want to pick up some vinyl, you need to go to sweetandsasssyblanks.net and get some vinyl, because that's the thing. And let's see what else we have here. Linda says, whoops, agree. The outlying areas can be a dream for shows. So
absolutely.
That's a good one. Cindy King says, I cannot wait to see you at the show. Thank you.
Excited. I have the best time. At shows. We do 2 a year. So I have the very best time at shows. I get to chat, I know who I am. This is it. This is all you get right here. I don't put on, there's no filter sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, oops, sorry. And if you ask a question, just be prepared for the answer. That's kind of how I roll.
Yep.
And I roll like that with my kids, and when I teach, I don't sugarcoat things. I kind of tell you like it is. And we have a great time. It's fun.
Well, I love this. We're getting questions. This is fun.
Me too.
What's the best scissors to use on vinyl, or I'm not sure exactly what.
Maybe probably applique and stuff.
Okay.
Like this is a embroidery debate.
We're getting contentious here.
I know. And I've used 2 different kinds, so I can honestly say that there are 2 that I like, but there's one that I use exclusively.
Okay.
I started using duckbill scissors. And if any of you have ever used a duckbill scissor, it has almost like a duckbill. I mean, it's got a wide end on it. And that's what I started with, but I was really having a hard time getting into some smaller grooves. And so I wholeheartedly now use curved. I use a little 4-inch curved scissors. And I have about 4 or 5 pair because they seem to get lost everywhere in my shop. And so, I'm not one to I used to get my scissors sharpened when I was on the island because having to order them would take so long. And now I'm just like, I don't know. They're all here somewhere,
Yeah, I got 5 million.
Yeah, they're here somewhere. But those are I think the 2 main ones that people use. The curved ones, I can kind of get into some tiny little grooves if I need to, depending on what you're doing, Now, vinyl does dull scissors quicker than fabric. And so if you do have a scissor sharpener locally, become really good friends with them, because you will need to sharpen your scissors, or like me, you just go and get another pair. But it will dull them faster, not super fast, I can get away with probably 4 to 6 months with, a pair of scissors. But if you use them that much, definitely either have a spare that you can, that way you can, if you're taking them and you can already have them. But those are the 2 major ones. Some people use regular scissors. Some people use X-Acto knives. I'm not that careful with an X-Acto knife to use that. And so for me, I would probably slice whatever was under it or whatever. So
yeah, that would be me too. I'd slice my finger or something.
And so those are the 2 that I like.
Okay. Well, we have some contributions to this question here. I love cuticle scissors for your vinyl.
See?
And then I love my small curved scissors. My fingers hate them though.
Yeah, they are small. That's why.
Yeah. And for cutting on my appliques, I use my seam rippers. So smooth. So there you go. There's a lot of options.
The debate.
Well, we could talk about the embroidery vinyl and all that stuff all day, but I do want to talk about the other half of another part of your life, which is your teaching life.
Yes.
Because you said something earlier when you were talking about the first machine you ever got, that you took it to your class and you taught your students.
I did.
And this is something, especially for young women who are thinking about what they might want to do or running a business or whatever, that I'm pretty passionate about. Yeah. So did you just do this? Is this part of like a program with your school, or did you just do this on your own? Or
well, so I started teaching, I've taught 23 years.
Okay.
And so I taught basically pre-K through 6th or 7th grade up until I moved here in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a job teaching high school. And
Okay.
so I was like, well, they're just big kids and little, they're going to be the same. And I'm having a blast. But I teach special education. So
okay.
So I am a special education teacher, and then I'm also a JAG instructor. And JAG stands for Jobs for America's Graduates.
Oh, cool.
And so it's it's a work-based kind of program. It teaches work skills. It teaches those soft skills. It teaches those kinds of things, so that our kids who have barriers, is what we call them, have almost a leg up when they get out into the world. Mm-hmm. They have some of those skills that some kids may not have. It just gives them a little edge.
Right.
We get them OSHA trained. We get them, trained in the culinary fields. We do.
Oh, I love that.
So one of the projects that we did last year is when I brought my machine into school, pre-COVID, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years ago now. It's been forever, it feels like. The first time I brought it in, we were doing a service learning project for the wildlife fires in Australia. And so I actually taught 15 of my my JAG students how to embroider hooded towels. And
all
so
right.
we they sewed. They didn't even know how to use a sewing machine. So on top of the embroidery side, I had to teach them basically home ec.
Right.
And so they were mesmerized. I mean, they're like, can we do this all year? I'm like, no, we can't. There's other things we have to do. But, in that time, because we did this for about 3 weeks, in that 3-week span, they learned more skills than you could ever learn in a textbook. Meeting deadlines, piecework, it's those kinds of things, an assembly line, that kind of stuff that it's not fun to read about, but it was fun for them to actually do. And
then they have a skill that they can take out in the world. They know how to do something that most people don't know how to do.
So now I pair up with our FACS teacher, our family and consumer science teacher, and her and I do a lot of things together. She has some single needle embroidery machines in her room, and so we do some fun things. And I'm actually teaching a class at the FACS Institute this summer.
Nice.
Here in Arkansas, so I'm excited.
You're going to teach embroidery?
I am actually going to be working with the applique side, and then also working with Cricut, the scanning cut, the Cricut machines.
Well, I love the concept, because that's one of the things that, especially for kids who might be at risk, if you can teach them some skills and give them something that they can take out into the world and be able to do, then, they're that much further ahead.
Absolutely. And that's what JAG is about. That's what JAG is all about. We teach them those skills, so that they have a toolbox when they leave, and so if I can just open a little bit of what, because the kids are always like, what are you doing? What do you do, Miss Skaggs? And so, I kind of open that world to them just a little bit, and even, we open it all the way to our business classes, our web design classes and our social media classes. They help me with my social media. Those kids at that high school are much more tech savvy than I am. And so, they can put an Instagram post out faster than I can even pull Instagram up. And so, but giving them real life experiences and giving them a real live business to work with, and letting them see how it affects what they do and how it affects that business is really important for them. And so it's been really good.
And it's also resume building. I mean, you're getting skills you can put on a resume that you can take to an employer and say, I love, I'm apparently not the only one. So let's see what else have we got here. Okay. Cindy Long says home economics is one thing I wish schools still taught. And Marnie Harris says, former home ec teacher, too bad it is no longer offered in many schools.
I know, it's unfortunate.
And I believe this is Lindsay,
Probably
says,
Lindsay.
love this
Yes,
Wednesday.
probably Lindsay.
Wendy, I wish we
No,
lived
we are
closer to
fortunate.
you.
We are fortunate. We live, you know, I was telling you before, you know, we live on 62 acres. So we are very much in an agricultural area. And so I'm very fortunate that my kids, you know, my daughter gets to go to a school that is heavy in agriculture, which she loves because she shows animals. And it is also heavy in the facts area. And so, which are two of her loves. She loves culinary arts and she loves to show animals. So, you know, she's in the best place she can be. And I think those trades are where it's at right now. You know, those kids need to learn trades that gives them something to do when they get out of school. Not college isn't for everybody, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's true.
And, you know, but we have to educate our youth so that when they get out, they are successful. So
I agree. Well, we have Terry Ulrich says, I work with deaf students and I have also brought my machine to teach them how to make all types of things.
awesome.
And I think what I really love about this is that, you know, you're taking something that they don't know anything about and bringing it to them. And they're also learning a skill that they can use. And they're also producing something that they can look at and say, I made this. So you get a sense of accomplishment too.
Yeah. And, you know, in this day and age with our youth, they are so incentive drived. You know, they want that incentive, whether it be a payment or something. You know, it's like, what is it in it for me kind of deal. And so, you know, when I brought the machine in, I was like, so this is service learning, you know, because we pay our OWL students, which is what we call our work-based. Our kids actually get paid when they go to their job. And I said, but this is service learning. There will be no payments here, you know. And I was like, the payment is we are giving back to a community who was, you know, basically destroyed in a wildfire.
Right.
And, you know, and so showing them, you know, a little town in Arkansas, you know, what that looks like all the way across the ocean. And they had an amazing experience doing it. You know, they created personalized tags that went in every single one.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. So no, it was an experience, you know. They're already asking, you know, what are we doing next year? And I'm like, I have no idea. Give me the summer. You know, just give me a little while. Let me get out of the year that we've had. You know, and but no, they have a great time.
Okay, we got a few more comments here. Terry says we need more programs like this. I agree with that. And then Coral chimes in with we need programs like this in Canada. And apparently it was Carly that was talking from Applique Getaway, but she says, being the mother of a child with special needs, I want this for him one day. And I also have known families that have special needs kids, and programs like this would be huge for them because the amount of self-esteem they gain from being able to do something and be self-sufficient, especially if they are a special needs child and they've encountered a lot of crap in their lives.
Absolutely.
I mean, and let's see, what's Marnie say? When I did teach home ec, I taught sewing first and had them make aprons. When we got into the kitchen, they had their own aprons.
There you go.
So I think that's a really, but what I just love this because I think one of the things that you said, which I think is so true, and Mike Rowe runs a program around this whole idea, is that college is not for everyone.
No, it's not.
But, you know, a lot of what garment decoration is about is for the artistic kids and the kids who like to tinker with stuff. And you can make a really good living if somebody will give you a start and show you what's possible.
Well, and, you know, that's the thing, you know, I mean, I went to college, you know, my degrees are in education. They're in special ed. They're in, you know, administration. There's nothing on my college resumes that have anything to do with embroidery and craft work. You know, I learned that basically kind of on the job, you know, I learned it just from watching, from, like you said, tinkering, you know, there's a lot of things. And I know, you know, when I'm at shows and I'm teaching classes, I'm like, you just got to get in there and do it. And I know some people are like, that doesn't resonate very well with them because some people, you know, they want those manuals and they want to be able to read, but there's some things you just have to do. And you can't be scared. You just have to jump full feet in. I am one of those that I don't put a toe in when I try something. I go all in, and if I sink, I sink. If I swim, I swim. But sometimes you just have to do that. And that's what I say to anyone who's like, I just got an embroidery machine, or I just got this. Awesome. Jump in.
Yeah.
Just try something. Get a piece of fabric. Just sew.
Well, I have to speak to this because, like I said, I worked for a supplier for 14 years. I would have people call me who had bought like a sublimation printer at a show, and it was 6 months later, 8 months later, hasn't even come out of the box yet. And I was like, or people calling me saying, well, I bought an embroidery machine, but I've never really tried it. And I'm going,
I know
what, you just spend all this money and wasted all this time, and you could have been producing things.
But and I think it's because they can be intimidating.
Oh yeah.
Embroidery machines can be super intimidating. And I kind of went backwards because, I bought a 6 needle first. A lot of people start with single needles and they kind of get their feet wet, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to upgrade. I just went in with a 6 needle. And then when I started, I was the permanent tester for French frills, is how I got to know Danielle. And when I did that, well, we have, the majority of our customer base has single needle machines. And so I'm like, we got to test it on a single needle. And so I purchased a single needle then. So I kind of worked backwards.
Right.
But they can be intimidating, even a single needle, And, I think, and I always have to think back, like to women like my mom, who she still won't touch my machines, and she's been around them, and she won't touch them. She won't even take something off the hoop. She's like, nope, I like my little Singer sewing machine. That's all I like to do, And so I think sometimes just getting them in there and being there, it's almost like in a classroom, kids want to try something, but they're scared. But if you're right there as a safety net, then they're okay. They'll try it. They'll unpack that box and they'll get in there. And I wish we could do, I wish I could just go on the road and, and do the traveling embroidery show, but maybe in my retired years, maybe that's what I'll do.
Well, we have funny people in the comments. John says, if I can embroider, anyone can. So
there you go.
But that's also one of the things that I want to talk about too, is I like the fact that I'm assuming that your class that you taught embroidery to was a mixture of women, guys and boys and girls, women and men, so to speak.
And all ability levels. We had, I had some students who were, just resource, I say just resource, but, they may have a reading disability, or they just may have ADHD, and they just focusing. Focus was never an issue when they were embroidering because, I'm like, you have to focus on what you're doing. And then I had them all the way to nonverbal autism. So to get to see those kids.
Oh, yeah.
Who sometimes you don't ever think are interested in anything you do. Just stand in front of an embroidery machine and watch it. And they're watching every single thing that machine does. That was pretty cool. We let him pick his design. And this is a 16-year-old nonverbal student with autism. And he was mesmerized. And we taught that student to sew his own towel. So, they can learn. These kids can learn. They just need the time to do it.
Well, I love that story. It's great. But I also really think, because this is one of the things that I fight against a little bit, is the whole embroidery is for women, screen printing is for men. Screen printers are jocks, and embroiderers are making frilly tea towels. And I'm like, or embroidery has to be all about little lambs and pastel designs and ducks or whatever. And I'm like, it's what you need it. It's what you want it to be. And there are designs all over the map for, if you want to make goth hooded capes or whatever, there are designs for that.
There is a market for all types of embroidery. And, and I think each of us have a niche. And I think it kind of goes with our personalities. I am more on the juvenile side just because of what I do. But then there are some that, I see their embroidery designs and they're adult, they're adult geared. And I'm like, those are amazing, And so all of us have that. And I think the husbands who are in on these businesses with their wives, I've got customers whose husbands, I see them in front of embroidery machines just as much as I see the wife, and I think that is amazing. When I was in retail, that's what my husband did. If I was doing that, he was trimming. He was down there with me in the wee hours of the night. And he did that. He got into that too. And so I think it's like you said, it's whatever you make it. It's whatever you want it to be.
Right.
And I think those gender stereotypes are something that we kind of got to move past in this day and age. We're getting there with some of the trades. Yes, there can be a female plumber. Yes, there can be a female welder. Well, let's get on to the family and consumer science side. Yes, there can be male chefs and female chefs. Yes, there can be male and female in this. Yes, there can be male and female in that. And I think the more we educate our kids and others, then that stereotype will go like some of the others have learned.
Well, and I think, this is honestly like one of my crusades is I want to get more, that's part of what this show is for, is I want to have more women be visible so that girls who are coming up can see that a woman can own a business and a woman can make the decisions, and you can also do traditional crafty or women's work, to use a horrible phrase, type things, and make money doing that. And it's a completely valid, because one of the things that I hear a lot, especially it seems like from some of the younger women who are starting embroidery businesses, is, well, I just work on it. It's just a little business. And I'm like, it's not a little business. It's a business. You're as valid as anybody else.
Yes. And so I think it's just how much you put into it. My husband and I were actually talking about this the other day. I'm fortunate because, it's not the make or break of our household,
right.
Because we both have full-time jobs. This is definitely no longer a hobby. It was about
that's a business.
For about a month in Alaska, it was a hobby,
right.
And then it became a business. But with those businesses, setting those priorities and setting goals, okay, so looking at your books, how much did you make this month? Okay, well, add a little bit next month, and then add more, and then add more. Push out, branch out, add a craft show if you've never done a craft show. When you're established, start a website, those kinds of things. Branch out and set goals. Goal setting is huge in the business world. Making sure they're realistic goals. If you bypass that goal next month, great. If you don't, that's okay too, because that's business, and I think setting those goals help get us out of that mentality of, well, it's just this little side thing that I do. No, it's a legitimate business, so you should treat it as such. And and those kinds of things. But I think that goes along though with the stereotype that we're kind of in, where it's, well, it really doesn't mean, it's just something to keep you busy kind of deal, it's like,
to fill up those,
to keep me busy.
Fill up those huge blocks of hours where you have nothing to do. But speaking of goals, I'm going to put in a plug for Women in Garment Decoration, because this is my group. And if you're not a member of this group, please come join us, because one of the things that we do on Mondays is we have a post where people put up their goals. And then on Fridays, we talk about what was the best thing that happened this week? What was your biggest accomplishment? Because I think I totally agree with you. If you're not putting your goals out there, if you don't know what you're aiming for, and the other pet peeve of mine, I have degrees in business and marketing, so I'm a marketer and a writer. But people who say that their market is everyone, I want to punch them in the face.
Well, and that kind of goes along with someone who says, in the education world, and I try to always make a connection. when I would go to educator fairs for college seniors,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, well, I'm going to be licensed to teach kindergarten through 8th grade. I'm like, no, baby, you may be licensed to teach kindergarten through 8th grade, but what's your niche?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, I'm licensed to teach K through 12, and kindergarten is not my niche. I've been there.
Yeah.
I have a niche. I can make connections with kids of a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
And so, same thing with my embroidery. I go to a certain market. I wouldn't I wouldn't go to an adult market because that's just not what that's not
Right.
what my designs are. And so I think knowing your niche and
Mm-hmm.
knowing who your audience is and who you're gearing toward is going to be super important, one, in making those goals,
Mm-hmm.
but in two, in furthering your business. And like I said, sometimes you sink and sometimes you swim. But I think
Right.
all of those are learning experiences for everyone. I'm a firm believer in you have to fail in order to succeed. And it could be just a small little failure, not a huge one where you go under, but just you learn,
Well, I
from
think,
those things.
first of all, I have to say, I love that you just said that, because I have done whole seminars on, oh my God, pick your target market, people, at various trade shows. So I
Yes.
love that you said that. But the
Yes.
other thing is, I don't understand, and I wish I could figure it out, is that people are so afraid that they're going to make a mistake or they're going to have something not work. And it's like, and I would tell people, and I've written about this, it's going to happen. You're going to mess something up. It might be a big mess up. It might be a small mess up, but it's going to happen. Just make your peace
Yes.
with it.
It's going to,
Yeah.
but I think it's the society that we're in where failure is seen as something negative.
Well, true.
And I even catch myself, I mean, I can design this amazing design and think it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I release, I'm like, well, that didn't go as planned, okay, no big deal. I don't stop. I have about a 10-second pity party, like, crap,
Yeah.
that sucked, but then I just move on and do the next one. The next one could be a huge success, And so I think that's where you're like, okay, well, it is what it is. You're going to have shows that you think are going to be the best show ever. And then you're like, well, that wasn't what it was.
That didn't go as well. Yeah.
And then you could go to this little rinky dink show and you walk in, you're like, oh, Lord, what have I done? And that's your best show ever. And so, I think people kind of get hyped up on, especially in the craft show world, of if I don't go to a show that has tons and tons and tons of people, then I'm not going to do well. And it goes along with that failure thing. They're afraid. And sometimes you can go to the smallest of shows and do better, And so, because you could, what my mom and I called just a lot of lookers, and so I think it's just people not being comfortable taking a risk. And I think you need to take a risk when you're in business. Business is a risk itself.
Yeah.
Small businesses are a risk in themselves. And I think, you've got to take a risk to see success. Some people are riskier than others. But, I think it is what it is. But goal setting, definitely, and part of that goal setting is learning how to take a risk.
I think you're right. And I think, like, Cindy has a comment here that I want to put up. Whoop, I hit the wrong one because somebody else commented. But Linda says you can go to a huge show and not do well. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cindy says, I struggle with that all the time. I wish I could get my finger on the right thing, but I haven't let it stop me from keeping on with those designs, but trying others to see how it will go over with it, but the thing is, I think the problem that a lot of people have is they're not narrowing their market. They're not figuring out what it is. Yeah. And then they go, but people aren't responding to me. Yeah. And I'm like, well, who are you talking to? Who have you tried to, connect with? And I get, well, I talk to my friends and I ask my family. And I'm like, well, dude, that ain't going to do it.
Well, and I think, like in the craft world too, you can do, I'm a firm believer, and some people will totally disagree. You might get some hate. You might even get some hate emojis here. But like, you can do too many crafts at one time, and I think that goes with knowing your market. because the last thing I want to do when I walk into a craft booth is to see 30,000 different crafts, because I only see a little bit of everything. I want to see what you specialize in. 3, 4, 5 maybe. I want to see what you do well. And I would much rather see more of a few than just a little bit of tons. And so I think that goes back with everybody's like, but I want to make sure that I get everything that everybody wants. Okay, well, guess what? You're never going to meet everybody's satisfaction. You're never going to please everyone, and you're never going to have what every single person wants. And that's when you're like, I think I saw it down there. You're more than, I've done that so many times in craft shows. I know what I sell, and I'm not going to sell anything different, but you know what? My good friend down the way, may not even know the person, may not even really be a good friend, but I'm going to make it like it was. My good friend down there, I think she had some of those. And you know what? A lot of those people will come back to your booth because you're honest. You're honest with them, So yeah, definitely knowing your market and staying true to yourself and staying within your market, not just branching out doing 15,000 different things.
Well, I have to laugh at Carolyn here because Carolyn makes, backstory to this comment, she makes the most gorgeous coats. She finds coats at like Goodwill or thrift stores and stuff, and she takes them home and she embroiders them with stories and stuff, or it's beautiful design work. And she says, achievement, I put out coats and I get, what the hell? They're a very specific thing. And Carolyn, we need to work on getting you to the right market, because I maintain you could sell those suckers for like a boatload of money if you found the right audience.
And you've got to get that niche that are interested in upcycling.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. I like that.
You've got to get in that niche, because there are tons of people in this world that they think that is the best ever to get something that's been upcycled. And, my daughter even, she does that, she's getting into sewing and stuff like that now. And she will grab something old and she'll put this on it or this on it, and it's like, there's a market for that.
I think it's true.
And, and so, yeah, definitely just finding the niche. But you know what? You're going to have what the hell at every market. You're going to have those comments, and, you just like, have a great day,
This is not for you, clearly.
And that's okay. That's okay. Some people are more, of course, unfortunately, more vocal than others. But I think maintaining that and not getting discouraged, not getting frustrated, because, I can honestly say, if I would have stopped, if I would have just went by the very first few months or, half a year of my embroidery business, when being on an island, maybe I may be back, then I would have never gotten started.
Right.
And there was no market there. I created that market. That there was no market on that island at that time. And so, and I'm not from there. So I already had a strike, because it's very much a cultural area.
Sure.
And so I'm not from there. And just getting in word of mouth. Word of mouth is better than any advertising, and it's free.
I would agree with you.
So yeah, definitely but knowing your market is huge.
Okay, I'm going to do one more comment, and then we're in danger of bonus time right now. So I'm going to do one more comment. Cindy Long says, Wendy just nailed down one of my biggest downfalls. I'm good at most anything, but I have trouble narrowing down my niche. The thing is, though, I think if you just put some thought into it, you'll figure out the things that really appeal to you more. And then, enjoy. Yeah, the things that you make that you just go, dang, that was really fun. I like doing that.
Exactly.
And then
that's your niche.
Once you figure that out, then you just have to find the people that want that thing. And people think that's hard. It's not as hard as you think it is. I think people make it more difficult than it needs to be. Absolutely. But that's a whole nother broadcast.
That's a whole other broadcast.
Yeah. And like I said, we're almost at bonus time now. So I'm gonna put a barrier, or we'll be here for another hour.
I know.
But I wanted to put up sweetandsassyBlanks.net if you want blanks, or if you want designs, go to sweetandsassydesigns.net. You can also find them on Facebook. They are here.
Absolutely.
And if you're coming to Applique Getaway, which everybody watching this should be coming to Applique Getaway because, oh my God, it's going to be fun. You can register for Applique Getaway and come and see me and Wendy at the show. So, all right, I'm going to click end broadcast now because if I don't, we'll be here for another hour. But thank you so much. This was so fun. And it always goes way too fast. All right. Thank you, everybody, for all the great comments. We will see you next week.
Bye, guys.